That was good. Good morning. Before I introduce our annual giving chairpersons, I neglected to say thank you to one person last week, and that's my mom, right there. So, I love you, Mom. All right. Walter and Diane Gordon had been members at Temple Sinai starting in 1993 and have continued being members through our merger 12 years ago. Walter and Diane have immersed themselves in this temple. They are always here for Friday night service. They come to almost every event we have, and more recently, after their retirement, they have become valuable volunteers. They are just a phone call away if we need their help. It is my honor to introduce Walter and Diane Gordon.
Good morning, barely. Walter and I are honored to be here this morning and to be the chairpersons for our giving campaign. Todd spoke to me about this about 6 weeks or so ago, and I was a little hesitant. He said to me, quote, "You have a story to tell, just tell it." I learned that it's not easy to say no to Todd. Many of you know me, but for those that don't, my name is Diane Gordon. I was a member of Temple Sinai, as Todd said, and then of course we became members here at Congregation Shir Shalom when we merged years ago. Our younger two children had their bar and bat mitzvahs at Sinai. I grew up in Amherst as the oldest of 7 children. My parents were devout Catholics. My brothers and sisters and I attended all Catholic school through high school. The only Jewish people I knew were Jenny Pohl, her husband, and her daughters. We were friendly neighbors, played with her girls growing up, but we never shared a meal or a holiday with them. I really wish we had. When I reconnected with Jenny here at Shir Shalom, it was wonderful. I brought her up to date about my brothers and sisters. She told me about Jody and Noreen. It was like going back in time. Jenny made me feel welcome. Thank you, Jenny. My parents were very involved in our parish and our schools. They served in a number of leadership roles in our parish school and our parish groups. You may be wondering why I'm telling you this on this holy day. My point is that devotion to God, practicing our faith, serving the community were all modeled in my family from birth. I came to Judaism through my husband, Walter. While we were dating, I started to attend services with him on Friday evenings at Sherry Zedek. I was completely intimidated attending there. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any prayers or songs or even when to sit or stand. At one of the services, while drinking coffee at the Oneg, a young woman came up to me and said quite bluntly, "You're Catholic, aren't you?" I thought, I must be wearing a sign or something. She told me that she had come to services many times and could see my discomfort as she had come as a Catholic and experienced the same thing. She was very supportive. A number of years later, as our 2 children began attending Sunday school and then Hebrew school, we decided to attend Temple Sinai at Marty Bates's invitation. Walter worked with Marty, and Marty told us about a young rabbi and with young children and thought we might enjoy it. We became members, and the rest is history. I became a room mother, helped with Hamantashen, the library, and made efforts to learn prayers and songs and to participate. Adrian Crandall was teaching there at the time and really took my daughter Katie under her wing. Katie thrived there because of her. Thank you, Adrian. I volunteered for bingo and got to know more people at bingo who taught me what to do there. Thank you to Sherry Joe. Over the years, we were present for holidays and occasional Friday nights. And then came the merger. To be honest, I wasn't sure how that was going to go, but we were willing to stick with our rabbi, and we were soon very happy to have a new building and many new friends. We had the opportunity to attend more Friday evening services and started to be known and know more here at CSS. There was a time about 5 years ago when I was invited on the bima with Walter, and the rabbi put a Torah in my arms. I don't know if he realized it or not, but I was in tears as I held it. I felt so accepted and honored. Thank you, Rabbi Alex. There are so many moments in the past years, but one more that stands out for me was the first service we gathered for after the shooting in Pittsburgh. Rabbi Alex and Cantor Arlene were struggling to lead a service, but you could tell their hearts were very heavy. I clearly remember being moved to tears again and looking around the sanctuary and thinking to myself, if the worst happened here, I would be proud to die with these people. I still feel that way. Like many of you, the pandemic changed life for us. I was already retired, and Walter could work from home and did for a while. Our day-to-day lives were quiet, uneventful, thank God, and we stayed home, as did most of our friends, family, and neighbors. We were pretty isolated. Our CSS leaders figured out how to keep our community going. The services on Friday night were the high point of our week. The Zoom services kept us engaged and connected. The schmoozing at the end of our service via Zoom was priceless. Thank you to Rabbi Alex, Cantor Arlene, Joanne, and everyone who made those, for all their hard work and made that possible. Last October 7th, as we've talked about, was a horrific day for the world, especially Jews. And once again, being together here, physically and spiritually, was healing in many ways. I know you're all thinking, when is she going to get to the point? Well, I really have already made my point. This community is very special. This community is extraordinary. The genuine welcome from Bruce, week after week, is just the beginning of the good feelings this man generates. The examples of dedication from so many people has inspired me to do all I can for our community. The friends I have made, the volunteer opportunities are priceless to me. A good friend here at Temple was speaking with me privately recently, and I asked her about her conversion, and she had very wise words for me. Quote, "No one here asks you to not be who you are." As a non-Jew, a Catholic girl who becomes more a part of this community every day, those words had a strong impact on me. Thank you, Marina. Today, Walter and I ask you to listen to our words and support our request to give to our community. I personally ask you to give as generously as possible, as Walter and I will do the same. Let's keep our terrific leaders, and I do mean terrific leaders, supported so that they can continue to give to us. Let's look at our beautifully updated sanctuary and give to maintain and improve our physical surroundings. Let's pause for a moment to remember all the amazing programs and services we've had in this past year alone. Let's look around for a moment, as our rabbi asks us to do every Friday night, at the people around us, the community we are a part of, and be grateful and generous to maintain this community. Thank you for your time and attention. Gemar Hatima Tova, and now I'll give you to Walter.
We should probably just quit there. But I agreed I would say something. March 3rd, 2003, the 914th Airlift Wing was activated for the invasion of Iraq. I was fortunate enough to be the flying squadron commander at the time, so when we sent six airplanes and 12 crews over to Saudi Arabia, I was the deployed commander for those folks. That may not sound like a good thing, but when you've trained for that, most of your life, it's kind of a blessing. So we went over there and we started flying support missions in the theater. A couple of weeks later, about March 19th, the war started, ground invasion moved in, and US forces started to move on Baghdad. And then we got word that perhaps they weren't moving as quickly as they thought, and there was a plan that we had to prepare to commit for a huge airdrop of huge formation of C-130s to airdrop the 82nd Airborne on Baghdad. And from Niagara Falls, we were tasked to provide 6 aircraft and 6 crews as part of this very large formation. And we were told we shouldn't worry about it too much because the radar threat had been suppressed and all we really needed to worry about were MANPADS and Iron Sight AAA. So what does that mean? MANPAD is a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile, one of the greatest threats you can have to a C-130. And Iron Sight AAA is a rapid-fire cannon with a guy actually looking right at you through a scope, shooting at you. These are very, very severe threats, and I was convinced that if I supplied 6 crews for this airdrop, at least one of them would not be coming back, if not more. So I sat down and I selected 6 crews. I went on the strength of the navigator, the loadmaster, the flight engineer, but mostly on the strength of the pilot in the left seat, the aircraft commander, and I picked 6 of them. Incidentally, Mark Abels, who's sitting right there, was one of those 6, and I remember writing in my journal that night, what would I tell Nan, his wife, if he didn't come back? We ended up not flying that airdrop. The Army made it to Baghdad in very short order, and it wasn't necessary. But meanwhile, for about a week, we thought we were going to. And during that time, not a single member of any crew came up to me or to anyone else and tried to make any excuse not to go. In fact, several of the aircraft commanders that were not chosen came up to me and were very indignant and upset and demanded to know why they were not chosen for this airdrop. And if you think about that, this makes no sense. I mean, I sincerely believe that at least one of these crews was not going to come back. So why were these men doing this? Why were these crews doing this? They were doing it for each other. They did not want to let down their friends. They wanted to be there with each other. They wanted to support their organization. They wanted to support the 328th Airlift Squadron. They did not do it for President Bush. They did not do it for the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, and they sure as heck did not do it for me. They did it for each other. That was a very special time. It was a very special place. I never thought I would belong to another organization like that again until now, until Shir Shalom. The spirit, the togetherness that we have in this place is like nothing I've felt since that time we went to war 20 years ago. So I ask you, just like those crews, to do what you can for each other here today. Thank you for listening, and we'll now ask our Board of Trustees to walk around and collect the pledge cards that are completed, and we're very grateful for your support.